Hello, welcome to Revive and Rise. I'm your host, Melody Parrish, and we have a very special guest with us today, Laurel Mellin, and she is the founder of EBT, Emotional Brain Training. She's a professor at UCSF, and she has written 9 books. She's the author of 9 books, and she has started this website, ebt.org. And if I can just tell you guys, you need to listen. You need to tune in to this website. Go to the website, ebt.org, and make sure to take advantage of it. And Laurel, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure. I love what you're doing. Just love what you're doing.
Thank you. So, can you talk more about EBT and what it means?
Oh, you know, so many of us have been through very traumatic experiences, and I went through a lot of them. I went through the death of my first child and being told that I wouldn't ever be able to have children. I went on to have 3 children, but I changed my life completely. And, the other uh, humiliations, rejections, tragedies that come in any good, well-lived life. And what I learned early on is that I was suffering. And I learned from my suffering that what I wanted to do with my life is stop suffering. Of course, that starts with me stopping the suffering, but also find a way. And I happened to get lucky. I was interviewed for a position at the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine. I was not a health psychologist. I was a nutritionist, and I was treating obesity and disordered eating at the time, which of course we treat beautifully in EBT. But I needed to do my own work, and I wanted to heal people. And because they didn't know really what to do with me at the time, I was on a grant. I got to try to find out the root cause of suffering. And I began developing the tools of emotional brain training. And we were all surprised at how well they worked. And then one mother came up to me, her daughter had been suffering from an eating disorder. She stealing food and she was just absolutely miserable. And she started to use these techniques. And the mother said to me, "What have you done to my daughter? She doesn't care about the extra food. She's not stealing money out of my purse anymore to get food. And all she wants to do is go outside and enjoy. And whatever you're doing for her, whatever these skills are doing, I want to." So what happened at that point is it would take 25 years to have the research to explain why EBT was having such dramatic effects on people. But I knew in that moment that my life was forever changed, that I didn't know why it was working, but I knew that I had to find out. And so that's where my journey changed. I ended up having 3 children. I ended up going through 2 divorces. I ended up going through the loss of my mother and then being a caretaker for my father for 9 years, et cetera, et cetera. But the idea is I have a strong desire from my own suffering to stop suffering. And I happened to be at the university right at the time, maybe 10 or 15 years later, as I got into the method more, that we had the explosion of neuroscience. And it turns out that this simple method that I've taught to children as young as 6 and adults as old as 96, that I have taught to homeless people, that I have taught to the people that are at the head of health organizations and businesses. We're all the same when it comes to our suffering, because the suffering is in the unconscious mind, in circuits that get encoded there. And there's this big myth, and it's still, many people still buy into it because the public is not being informed, and that's why I'm here. The public is told that you are what you think about, and all that matters is what you think and what you do. And that is absolutely untrue because the thinking brain, when we're in stress, and today's stress levels are overwhelming. First, you've got the trauma from childhood, then later trauma, and then the world is spinning out of control. So everyone's brain is being pummeled by stress. And in stress, the thinking brain uh, gets deleterious. We ruminate, we obsess, we get really narrow in our thinking, or we get so scattered we don't know where we're going. So you can't rely on the thinking brain. And our behaviors are driven from our positive behaviors come from a healthy thinking brain. And so our thinking brain, even though we're trying the best we can, it's a little bit off. And so it turns out that about 90% of our control in life is from our unconscious mind, which is called the emotional brain. The reason this is so important is most of us have figured that the emotional brain belongs to a shrink or to medicate or to whatever. And actually, the emotional brain is extremely logical, it's extremely simple. And when you give EBT to anyone and you say, I'm giving you the keys to your unconscious mind, and what you'll be able to do is when you're upset, I want you to use your thinking brain to complain about something that's bothering you. Now, this is how beautiful our emotional brains are. And this is all evolutionary biology. It's true for all humans, same tools. Is your brain, when you complain about something and you don't try to think your way out of it or take action out of it, but just be present to your emotions, that brief identification of what's bothering you. I'm bothered because my father is so selfish and I'm a caretaker of him. He's driving me crazy and whatever that. Or I'm eating or drinking myself to death and I just can't stop and I'm feeling out of control. Or my work is driving me, or the relationship is really abusive or neglectful and I don't know what to do. Whatever the problem is, it doesn't matter. You learn a process in EBT that you can apply to anything. And when you apply that process to whatever you happen to bring up that's bothering you, something magical happens, which you control the three major centers in your unconscious mind: the stress center, the reward center, and the metabolic center. When those three centers are balanced instead of being out of control the way they are in stress, your entire physiology changes. So it's as if you're taking the best medicine there ever could be, except for antibiotics, because antibiotics are necessary, okay? So killing the germs are necessary, but the real germ now is not the bug that's inside of us or the germ, but the stress circuits in our brain from trauma. Because when the stressed, those trauma circuits, those memories are activated, they dysregulate all three systems: the stress, reward, and metabolic. And then you go to your doctor, and let's say you go to your doctor, and they will give you medications for it. You may need the medications, but what you really need is to go to the root cause, which is a few circuits of trauma, and you need to deactivate them so they're no longer sticking you into stress state. If you go to therapists, they're going to give you a diagnosis, and they need to do that for their own profession because that's how the profession works. They need to do it so you get third-party reimbursement. But those diagnoses are truly distracting us from our power, which is if we notice that I have PTSD or I have depression or whatever, and they give you medication, but the root cause, and maybe you need that medication, but if you want to cure, if you want to really feel better, if you want to get back to your natural state of connection and flow and joy, you've got to go back to the circuit that's in the brain and use EBT to erase that circuit and replace it with one that is not giving you the harmful chemicals, but giving you the healing chemicals. And all you have to do is start complaining. Once you start complaining, you're going to love this. The exact circuit that's amplifying your stress. Now, if you have a health problem, that's stressful, right? But where it really goes stressful is that you get upset about the health problem. You engage in behaviors because of your stress that worsen the health problem. And so essentially, the circuit that's making it so bad gets unlocked. It's pinpointed, and a MRI can't even do that. A brain scan can't do that. But your brain evolved to be able to find the exact circuit in your brain that's bothering you just by 5 sentences of a complaint. And then
Oh,
you process the emotions because you hit a blockade of emotions. You process the emotions in just the way that EBT allows you to do, so you can clear the anxiety, the depression, or whatever, which otherwise would get stuck. You
mhm.
find the message in your brain that's causing you to repeat the same patterns, and you change it. So that is how you take really good care of your health by neuroscience now in this day and age.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. And I like the fact that you talk about we have the power
Yeah.
because, I like listening and reading Pema Chodron. Um, and she has this book that says, in this course that says, the freedom to choose something different. And that sounds to me like what you're talking about here, that we're not choosing to stay in this loop of negativity, but we're choosing, our brain is choosing to have joy. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, but I think what we've done with the science is taken that concept that she has, which is beautiful, that you have to make a choice. And, you know, there's 5 levels of stress in the brain. 1 is the lowest stress, that's joy. All the way up to 5 means full-blown stress response, and it's normal to be in all 5 states in any given day because even if you're in a super stress state, if you don't stay there, you can actually, complain about it by using EBT, and you'll actually use that moment of stress because the circuit is showing up and it's ready to be rewired, so you can use them advantageously. But also, there's a little risk with that of shame or judgment, and because truly, we are humans, all of us, who have 5 levels of major shifts in stress in our brain. Obviously, there's thousands of them, but there's only 5 real big shifts in your stress level. So you start thinking in terms of your stress number. It's also called brain state. And if you're down there at 4 or 5 where the reptilian brain is in charge, not up at 1 where the thinking brain is charged, you can't choose anything because your brain is not working. And so the way we use choice in EBT is to say, would you please change your view of the entire world? And in terms of your personal choices as an individual and understanding other people, your customers, your loved ones, your spouse, your children, think in terms of brain states and you will stop all judgments, but you'll also empower. So let's say that I was just, engaging in all this negative thinking and these bad behaviors and all that. And I said, I need to make a choice to feel healthier. Well, frankly speaking, the person I am when I'm at brain state 1, who's functioning really well and all my happy memories are coming up, could hear that. But what if I was at 3, where my limbic brain is in charge and I'm a little scattered? I might not be able to think that clearly. And if I'm at 5, there is no way I am going to believe that the roof is caving in. It is never going to get better. There is no hope. And so we're not at personal choice when our thinking brain is offline and we're at stress where the emotions themselves form this huge blockade. We hit that blockade. Now we're anxious, depressed, or upset. We feel like flattened. We feel obliterated. And what happens in the brain is when we hit that emotional blockade in our brain, it just triggers whatever is the most convenient wire from the past of what we did. Maybe we're going to hide. Maybe we're going to obsess. Maybe we're going to eat, drink, or spend, or whatever. And it's reflexive, it's automatic, and we don't even know it's happening. We just blame ourselves for the fact that what's wrong with me anyway? So
Mhm.
I would say we take all of her philosophy
Mhm.
and put something actionable so that you say, what's my number? I'm at 5. At 5, I'm going to be a little crazy here. I'm going to really believe that it's nothing's ever going to work out. And I'm going to use a technique in EBT called damage control. I just used it on a patient a few moments ago. I was demonstrating it to therapists that were training in EBT. And She went from feeling like she says, "I have health problems. I have 3 surgeries coming up. I have, uh, I have so many mental health problems that I'm on multiple, medications. My dog is dying, and I just feel that there's no hope, and I wanna give up." And I said, "Would you like to do a little EBT?" And she says, "Yes." And I began to explain to her about it. And she came within about 10 minutes later, she said, "Oh my gosh, I feel hope."
Oh,
What
wow.
just happened?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, you're saying that, we get in that trauma loop of constantly thinking and constantly maybe obsessing, and sometimes for us it's just a knee-jerk reaction that we can't control. And you're saying that EBT can definitely help with that, can break that cycle.
It can break that cycle of what you think about life, and so that you know that it's just a circuit, it's not you. There's a very specific technique, and you have to learn the techniques.
Mhm.
First, and you begin to unravel that, and you once you find a circuit that's bothering you, you don't stop using the tools on it until you're clean, you're done, it's erased. And so that's why we need support. So when people come to ebt.org, the first thing they do is they download the magical app. We don't give anyone the app without the support because it requires human love, human connection, human inspiration. And then every single day of the week, there's a drop-in group where they can go anonymously and listen to a health professional guide someone through going from the trauma state to their natural state of joy. And they learn not only how to use the tools that way, but they also learn to trust that if they can go step out of their thinking and doing, step over that emotional blockade and get into their emotional brain, their unconscious mind, they can find the trauma and they can heal the trauma. And when they come out the other side from that trauma, and you and I both know that, we've talked a little bit, is that you end up being a person of so much virtue compared to someone who's you're never looking for trauma, but the major virtues in life, like generosity, empathy, uh, courage, you know, enthusiasm, willingness, these kindness, all this kindness, it comes out naturally when your brain, not just your brain state, your passing state is at brain state 1, which is joy, but your set point is in joy. So essentially, if you go to a therapist, great. If you go to your doctor for medications, great. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But the answer is really to understand that each of us is in 5 different levels of stress in any given day with a different brain area in charge. Down here with the 5 is your reptilian brain. Who wants to be there? At 3, it's the limbic brain or mammalian brain. At the top, it's your neocortex. That's not a problem. It's kind of like heart rate's always changing. But if you want to get well, it's not a matter of issues or problems. It's a matter of circuits. And what you do is you come to EBT, you get into a group, so you have a small group of people to support and inspire you. You go to those daily drop-in sessions now and then when you can, and you go through our course, which takes a year. And what happens is you raise the set point of your brain. So if you've had trauma, particularly if you had early adverse childhood experiences where you didn't get the resiliency tools you need, you didn't get that loving connection of high nurturing and high expectations, but you got permissiveness or neglect or deprivation, your brain has these beautiful resiliency pathways that'll take you from stress to joy, but they're like little trails. And the more you use them, they become superhighways and they work automatically. And so over time, your brain's resiliency gets stronger and stronger because you already have the beautiful brain. It has those pathways in it for survival, but you have to exercise them. You have to go down that road over and over again and rewire the fear memories and the different circuits that are there. And then you end up getting attached to joy and purpose and elevated emotions like love and compassion and gratitude, hope, forgiveness, awe, and joy. All the goodness of life becomes your default position in your brain. You're still going to go to all five states, but when your set point is one, not only do the three major centers in the brain that control our health change, the stress center, the reward center, and the metabolic center. So you're eating healthy naturally, you're sleeping well, you're exercising, you have happy relationships. But essentially, your brain does it automatically for you because it's been trained to get to resilience. If you don't do that, if you do the traditional route of just getting more and more and more medications, more and more therapy to deal, but you don't physiologically change the set point of your brain from being stuck in stress to being attached to your natural state of joy, even the work you do with the therapist will probably be erased. Because if you're still stuck in stress, there's always a tiny bit of a circuit left. And if you're stuck down there, the brain will reignite it. It'll reinstate it. So you feel like you're doing all this therapy, all these medications, and are you really getting better? You want to get really better, you take charge of your own brain. In addition to all the other things, you can still do all the other things. Don't go off your medication until you no longer need it. And typically, people need fewer medications once they start using this method. Their blood pressure goes down, their heart rate, all of these things change. But what I want you to do is get committed to being wired at brain state one, which is joy. So the goal of psychotherapy, of every one of us who've been through trauma, of all the chronic diseases we have, is to get wired for joy. You just keep your mind on, I want to be wired for joy. I'm going to spiral up to joy throughout the day. I'm going to rewire this trauma. I'm going to do that gritty work because the life I want is about connection. So I can use my traumatic experiences to inspire me to go about my life doing whatever good on this planet came here to do.
Oh, nice, nice. I love that. Two things that I love that you said was that there's times when we're in states where we can't think or we can't control things that we're, thinking. And I also love that you talk about the connection that you need, that you need people. And I love that your groups have that connection, that support. Can you talk more about that? How we need each other instead
Oh,
of just like by ourselves?
oh my gosh. Psychotherapy is set up to be very isolating. You have a connection with one person for 1 hour a week. Who needs that? That's fine to have it, but that's not the treatment. What the emotional brain is looking for is loving connection because we hold each other in our pain and we recover together. So we have EBT groups, there's limited to 6 to 8 people, typically 6 people, and a health professional who's trained in the method. And you come once a week, and this is your family. And you don't even know the person's last name because it's all confidential. You know their first name, and you have a telephone system that's private, so you can reach out to each other for just 5 minutes here and there when you're in need. And having someone just listen to you use these tools where you get out of stress and into joy, and then both of you share that moment of joy, both people are enlightened and inspired. I was just in a group this morning because we have intensives where you do it straight for 30 days. A lot of people do those. And a woman came in and she said, well, I have this perfectionism circuit that was encoded at age 4 when I was punished in this or that way. And she said, and I don't know, I'm kind of losing my energy on it. Cause sometimes the circuits go boof like that and they're gone in 1 minute. And if they've got a lot of trauma down there, you're going to have to do more of this processing to clear them. And another woman spoke up and she said, well, I'm going to do work in Laurel's group today. And because it's about something similar. So I end up guiding her in, and when the provider is guiding you, you can go much deeper in your brain. That's why we do that, much deeper, right down to the trauma circuits and using the same skills, but with much more precision. And And so she ended up spiraling up to joy. She found her circuit, the woman that had volunteered. And the other woman said, you know, I was losing my energy, but now I can't wait to get off the phone and erase this circuit. So the love that we have for each other, the fact that we're all going for something, all these people are not just sitting around taking medications. I want everyone to take medications they need, but right now we're over medicated. So we're not motivated to get to the root cause and really get that freedom, really get that joy going. And and then what happens is we're all lifting each other up. Everyone's here for higher purpose, and it's all neuroscience. It's not psychological, it's biological.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the lifting each other up because I feel like we all need to as humans, we all want to be seen and heard and validated,
And validated.
right?
And
Do you agree?
absolutely. And we have, I'm 76. I started this when I was 28. And my I've learned a lot because we learned all the things that can go wrong. And
Mhm.
so we've corrected them. But one of the things that can go wrong, like for example, 12-step programs can be very helpful for some people. And the point is it's a community-based program. We need community-based programs, but oftentimes if you're not going down and rewiring your brain and you're with other people that aren't rewiring their brain, they're doing what they can, they're doing the best they can, they are changing over time. They may cross boundaries and they may cause hurt. And oftentimes, what happens in exchanges in some programs is that people give advice, people start being each other's therapists that are not qualified to do that, and it gets very dangerous very quickly. So we really knew that was going to be a problem with EBT, that helping people help themselves is what it's about. But we developed something called a community connection. And can I do one with you right now, Melody, just to show people when you do
Sure.
EBT, you do it on your own, you have all these videos and everything, but you also can do connections with people in your group. And so I'm going to ring up you through my phone. So there's your phone number, no one knows your last name, no one, but I'm going to call you up and make a connection. So say ring, 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 and you say hello.
Oh, hello.
And I'm going to say, hey, it's Laurel. Do you have time for a connection? And you're going to say yes or no.
Sure.
Okay. So do you feel like spiraling up or do you want me to do it?
Um, you do it.
Okay. So I'll do it. So I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to go through my app and I'm going to say, this is bothering me. This is bothering me. And then I'm going to go through it all the way. And all of a sudden, my brain's going to turn into joy. And Melody, you're going to feel my joy. You're across the miles, but we all do it all by voice because the baby bonds with the mother through voice in utero.
Oh,
Okay, so voice is really sensitive. So you don't have to see a person, you don't have to know who they are. And through my voice, I'm all of a sudden, yes, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it for vibrancy and integrity. And oh my gosh. And so I'm at brain state one. You're at brain state one. We share that moment. And then something really beautiful happens. So all that time you've been listening to me, maybe it's 5 minutes because these skills are very fast. You've not been saying a word. You've just been a loving presence. But
mhm.
now I'm feeling a little vulnerable because I just told you about the fact that I was upset with my child or whatever it was. And you're going to give me what's called a connecting message. And this is like liquid gold because what you'll say ensures that you will not be crossing a boundary. You will not be giving me advice. You will not be taking my time because nobody has time. But you'll say, when you did your work, the feelings and sensations in my body were, well, first I was sad and then I was happy and then I felt a glow all over my body. In that simple technique, I have now shared my inner life with you and you feel touched. You feel like you've been seen, heard, and felt. And then I'm going to say, and what I listened to, what you did was a gift to me in my own personal EBT practice of evolving and getting happier and healthier was that I was kind of numb coming in here and I just got really excited and I got inspired. And you helped me do that. So I'm being vulnerable back, saying how you've helped me. And at that moment, both people are at a bright, shiny brain state one in joy. and both people's brains have transformed, and it's taken 6 minutes.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's how it works, and people just continue to get their set point up until they're wired for joy, and they have the freedom from all the common excesses, particularly food, because that's so common. And
Mm.
EBT actually has been shown to be the only method that produces lasting weight loss because it changes the brain so that we get to that joy state where those chemicals, including all those chemicals used in those weight loss drugs, uh, aren't bothering us anymore. And then but we have that inside. We're not relying on medications, we're relying on our brain.
Oh, wow. Wow. I really like that. And I like that you're talking about both people uh, doing the work and being vulnerable, because I think that's what it takes, vulnerability.
Absolutely, and also safety. There, you come into an EBT group, and there's no requirement for you to say a word, and there's times when you don't want to say anything. So no one is asked to do anything other than do what feels safe and exciting and fun for them. I got to tell you one more thing. When you rewire a circuit with EBT, it is gone. So food is a good example because again, it's the only method that really has shown lasting weight loss because it changes your biochemistry. Overeating is not a problem of behavior, it's a problem of stress chemicals. And when those circuits of stress chemicals are going, what happens is 8 major chemicals that drive obesity and disordered eating are dysregulated. And if you give a shot, you just get one of them, but if you use EBT, you get normalized all 8, and that's also cortisol, dopamine, insulin, GLP-1, of course, but also leptin and ghrelin and PYY and serotonin. So all of those are dysregulated, and why when people go and take the shot, the weight loss drug, they get sick to their stomach, they lose their joy, but they're saved from that terrible food noise. With EBT, you get saved from the terrible food noise, but you're not in stress, you're not starving, and all of your chemicals are normalized and positive. So we want people to do it, but what happens is so exciting. I'll tell you about a guy in one of my EBT intensives right now where you go every day. He said to me, "Well, I came in because I have depression, I'm addicted to work, and I'm addicted to food." And so I said to him, the first thing I want you to do is I just want you to use the app to get from stress to joy. And I want you to do it. It takes a minute. I want you to do it first 5 times a day, then 10, then 15, and see how much change in your biochemistry you get from that and how it affects you. And then after that, I'm going to teach you how to use the same tools to actually erase circuits and then to raise your set point so you're wired for joy. So he says, okay. So he's tooting right along. And this is a really nice guy, but he's very relaxed. And he's not one to talk a lot. And so he's going along and he's in the group and he's learning how to do these connections with each other. And he gets it up to a fair number. I think it was about 15 moments of joy a day from the app, which changes his entire biochemistry. And I said, how's it going when he came today? He says, well, it's really weird. And I said, how is it weird? He says, well, number one, I have high blood pressure and my blood pressure is normal. It's come down. And my heart rate was running at about 100 and now it's running at 80. What's going on? I said, because it's physiology, because you're changing your phys. And then he says, but this is what's really weird. I was here first and foremost because I wanted to rewire my food circuit. But what happened was just by spiraling up 15 times a day and getting above those circuits in the moment, we're still going to rewire them for last. What happened is 2 things. Number one, I went to the grocery store and I normally stack up on the chips and the cookies and everything. And I looked in my basket and I only had healthy foods and it wasn't intentional because
Wow.
it came from changing the circuits in my emotional brain. And he says, one more thing happened. I go to work and normally I had no idea how stressed I was. I really didn't. But I went to work and instead of plowing away and feeling like a victim and feeling kind of aggravated at the whole system, I was actually relaxed at work. So I don't know what's going on here. And I said, it's because you're wiring your brain for joy and you're using the skills to change your biochemistry from harmful chemicals to healing chemicals. There's more work to do, But what we're looking for is effortless change. If you're still trying to force yourself not to overeat, to force yourself not to get into that anxiety state or that depression or that numbness, you are working too hard because that drive to get to numbness, anxiety, depression, eating, drinking, spending, distancing, people pleasing, whatever that is on your circuit is coming from a wire. And the most efficient way is first to start by getting above the wire, by spiraling up to joy, and you'll see a big difference. And then when you get ready and you feel like it, you just zero in on one circuit at a time and you erase it. And when you erase it, the circuit that's driving it biochemically is no longer there. And you effortlessly do not get into that anxious state or that depressed state or that eating or drinking or distancing or people pleasing, whatever that is that's the brain is telling you to do. And that's what we call as freedom.
Freedom. Oh, I love that. Yes, yes. Well, this sounds wonderful. And this has been so amazing, this talk. And I love what you do. And where can we get your books if anyone's interested?
Okay, the latest book is 1, 2, 3 Joy, but it's about just about eating and weight. But to use the method, and we give you those books when you get into the membership. It is every day you get professional care.
Okay.
Every day you've got the app. Every day you have community. And for that amount of professional care and community, it's very reasonable. It's $59 a month, and you get all that personal care. And that's what's necessary. With the skills themselves are powerful. I mean, enormously powerful, surprisingly powerful, awesomely powerful. But you sit there with that app and you don't have loving kindness and you don't have the inspiration of a group and you don't have the fun of being on a telephone call. No one sees you, no one knows what you're doing, but hearing the voice of others, giving those kind words back to each other, and all of a sudden the love and the power of the science and just the sheer sense of how much control we have over our health and our quality of life catches on. And that's why we always say in EBT, if it's not fun, it's not EBT, because it's fun to transform your life, particularly if you've had trauma, because the trauma is telling you that there is no hope. And EBT is showing you right from the start that not only is hope, there's freedom and joy behind that.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love it. I love it. So you said ebt.org. That's
Yes,
the website to go to.
it
And we
is
can get the membership there, right?
exactly. You get a membership. There's other memberships. You can do intensives. You can do coaching in my concierge practice. That's Laurel Mellin at EBT. I'm sorry, laurelmellin.org is my concierge. But the website is where I want you to go, which is it's just like food stamps, EBT, but it has a .org after it. So it's ebt.org, and you go there, and you'll be greeted by people who are mentors. Graduates come and mentor other people. You'll get lots and lots of support, and you can go at whatever pace you want. And what'll happen is you'll start to understand that on the day you were born, you had all the inherent strength, goodness, and wisdom you would ever need to solve any problem or recover from any trauma. All you required were the tools to access it, and these are the tools.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. And I know our listeners are so grateful to hear about this.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on your program again. I absolutely love what you're doing. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yes. Well, thank you so, so much, Laurel. And you're more than welcome anytime to come and join us again.
I would love to. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. And just remember that you do not have to suffer alone.